Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. Presented by Carolina Lightweights. Come grip with us. When the action begins in the studio, our referees for tonight's event are Elgato Azul and Carolina Real Streamers. For the slime lovers in attendance and YouTube and Facebook users from around the world, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Live from the Elgato Azul TV studio in Louisville, Texas, it's time! What's up, Slime family? I'm Chris, a.k.a. Elgato Azul. It's my partner in Slime over here, Jamie Dunn, Carolina Real Screamers. We got the legend, King of Tennessee, Micka Burkhart. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
So we'll go through the list real quick of who's in here early. We got Big Wrench Catfishing. We got Facebook users. We got Brandon Ladd, one of our Mad Catz teammates. A couple more Facebook users. We can't see who the Facebook users are, but thanks for coming in, guys. It says, what's up, family? We got Creole Catfishing. What's up, bro? We got Dale Hayslip. Let's go. We got Rich with Operation Vets with Nets, another one of our team members. Texas Boys Catfishing, one of my Texas Slime brothers. Welcome. Russell Rhodes, one of our Carolina Lakeweights boys. Welcome in. We got Poor Boy Catfishing, another Carolina Lakeweights guy. Welcome in. And a bunch of Facebook users. So appreciate everybody stopping in and spending some time with us. Should be a great show tonight. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight, well, probably a lot tonight with Micka about his 2 records, about his process of catching those fish, how he did it and all that. We'll take questions, and we'll ask also, we're going to get him to tell us about the process of getting his own rods with Mad Catz and all that. So thanks for coming in. Appreciate you stopping in, Micka, and spending time with us tonight.
Yeah.
Jamie, why don't you kick us off this evening?
Well, brother, everybody wants to know, man, all the secrets, all the good stuff. Let's start off slow, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, for the ones that, well, I can't imagine nobody knows about you. Everybody knows about you, but tell us a little bit about yourself, where you from, and kind of an intro for us.
Well, I mean, not a whole lot that I haven't said already, but I guess technically I'm from Tennessee now since I lived here the longest because my family was military, of course, and I was military, so I ended up retiring here. And but I've always fished, you know, whether it be catfish, trout, bass, crop, I mean, you name it. If it had scales or slime, I probably caught it one time or another. And so, but just for me, the Cumberland River has been a heck of a fit for me. I mean, for years, like I fished this river. Well, this stretch of the river is probably about 20 years, and it's kind of neat when you can, you know, fish a spot of water, you know, water like that for a while, because you learn a lot of stuff. But now being a river system, it changes from year to year, and so it's just kind of like a new thing. You know, you can go back to the same spots, but it's a little bit different each time. And so, like even today when I went fishing, it was something new that I tried. And it paid off in a big way. So,
well, how hard has it been? I mean, trying to basically, you know, on that river system that you fish and just dial it in. I mean, how long have you spent on it? You know, trying to get that.
It's been a lot of years. It really has, and because anybody that, you know, you can go out and get lucky once, you know, but you're not going to go out and get lucky every time. That's it. And the thing is you put that, as we all say, put that time in, you know, do your work. And it's not even so much fishing, you know, a lot of my time spent scanning, you know, a lot of times it's, you know, studying maps. And I try to learn how the different contour lines on a map, you know, mesh with what's on the bottom of the river. And a lot of times the map doesn't doesn't actually correlate to everything that's on the bottom. So it's basically just get out there and, put in the time and fish. And fishing is actually one of the biggest things too, because you can look at a piece of water and think, oh, this is going to be great. I know so-and-so caught whatever and something looked just like this, and there won't be a thing there, So, but it takes a lot of time. It really does. I mean, you got to put the time in. I started branching out to the Tennessee River quite a bit, and I've got some pretty decent spots out there, but I don't know it like I know the Cumberland. So,
just like here, fishing a lot of the river system. I mean, year from year, depending on how much water you get, the floods, it's constantly changing. You're just constantly looking for new places. I mean, do you pretty well find that, up where you're fishing right now? How much?
Yeah, I've had I'll tell you what, because every year I've done actually pretty good on flatheads, before they go to spawn. That's when I would catch most of them. Well, there was a big log jam. I say log jam. It's probably 2 or 3 trees that had piled up on top of each other from a flood about 5 years ago. And, they're gone. So now I've got to find something else, because that would literally hold, 50s and 60s, and several. I know I've sat in front of that tree one night, and me and my son, we ended up catching like 3 or 4 that were over 50 pounds. I mean, just back to back to back. Unheard of, but it was a big brush pile, or tree pile, I guess you call it, because it was huge. But now it's gone, so I got to find something else.
Yeah, I find that all the time. I mean, getting so used to a big brush pile, log jams, and then a massive water or flood comes through, and then it's like, okay, now we got to start all over again.
Yeah,
everything's moved, so it's definitely always looking around, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mike, let's hear the goods on how you caught this fish. I know what baits you were using. It's a great bait. How big of baits do you go when you're really trying to catch 50 plus pounders? And what technique do you use?
Well, I mean, to be honest, the last 2 fish that I've caught over 100 pounds, they've ate a small piece of bait, comparatively speaking.
How big is small?
Okay, so the first one, I caught actually the only thing I caught that day was I caught 6-inch skipjack. That's it. They were all about 6 to 7 inches long, and the piece that he hit was I cut 1 1/2. So you figure it was a 3-inch. If you can imagine the size of a 6 or 7 inch skipjack, you cut it in half. That's how big it was. And so the white bass head, that white bass was probably maybe 8 inches long, 10 inches long. Then I cut the head off of it, so it wasn't that big. And so, but
still a pretty good chunk. A white bass, a 10-inch white bass.
Yeah. It's not.
The head is probably, for guys that don't know, the head's probably something like that.
Yeah. But honestly, targeting these bigger fish, I see a lot of people that use 2-pound baits and stuff like that, and I'm sure it works. I'm sure they catch a lot of fish on it, but honestly, that's about the average that I use. I don't use much bigger than that, and I've caught several, like I said, fish in the 50s and 60s. So it's what seems to work for me. I'm sure, like I said, them bigger baits will work for other people, but I just haven't seen the need for it.
Were you dragging? Were you anchored? Were you
No, I definitely dragging. Once I tell you, I learned how to drag about, I guess it's been about almost 3 years ago now. And once I figured it out, and then the first time I did it, I caught a lot of fish. So I've had a bunch of confidence in it now, and that's what I do about 90% of the time.
So when you always chunk up bait, or do you put them on whole? Do you like kind of a natural presentation of a fish swimming by, or just chunk it up and go?
I just chunk it up and go. Now, I will tell you, though, the one thing that I've been kind of playing with, actually it was about the last 2 years, what I've been playing with is I slow my boat way down. Like when I'm dragging 0.2, 0.3. And I don't know, like for me, it seems like I can get more bites that way. Now, I ain't going to say because when you're dragging that slow, you got, of course, you got the angle of the line, stuff like that. Your hookups, you're not going to get every one of them. I think if you were pulling faster, maybe it'd be better. I don't know. But for me, I get way more bites doing that. And some people kind of like, man, that's awful slow. How you gonna cover water? It's a grind. I mean, it is a grind, but that's I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit later. But that's where you got to find them high percentage spots and then just kind of soak it.
Guys will ask me all the time. They're like, you're going awfully slow compared to everybody else. You got to cover more water. But like you said, I think the most important thing is being on the fish.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're on them, you go slow. Slow it down is pretty much as slow as you go if you're on them.
Yeah. Because I've tested that theory a couple times where I got another really good stretch, usually really good when it's early fall, early winter, I guess. And I'll drag it, but I've drug it, when it pretty fast, 0.5, 0.7, I'd pick up one or two fish, but I seen so many more on the graph. So I said, no, I got to do better than this. So I spun back around, drug the same place at about 0.2, 0.3, and I couldn't keep all the rods in the water at the same time. So, and ever since that, I've also tested it a few times in a few different spots, and in my head, it's slow down, slow down. Because if they're there, obviously, water, don't worry about it.
Rich, Operation Bets with Ness asks, do you find going that slow better in the winter bite or the summer?
Well, I haven't. I'm not. Well, I'm going to say it's going to be good in both. Is what I'm going to say. Now I can't back that up 100% because I haven't done it enough to say, yep, that's what you got to do. So I will say personally that yes, that's going to be the ideal in winter and summer, just based off of what I've taught.
I think that in summer, you can go a little faster because they have a little longer, a wider, further, probably bite range that they'll go chase a bait. They're a little more active. But in the winter, I know for a fact that slowing down will produce 3, 4, 5 times as many fish as the guy next to you who's just going 0.5, 0.6.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I like to go slow, especially colder it gets, the slower I'm going.
Yeah.
Chris, I don't know if you saw the question. Creole was asking, are there any similarities that you found from your first state record to your second state record as far as, time, depth, speed, and structure?
Yeah, it was a matter of fact, it was within 100 yards where I caught the first one. And so like it's, there's some speculation it could even possibly be the same fish, and that is very possible.
That's one of the questions I was going to ask. Is it possible that was the same fish? Very close weights.
A couple
of meals.
I was saying I can't say that. A couple of good
meals, a big fish like that can put on 5 pounds, 6 pounds.
And I tell a lot of people this too, is if I could 100% certain, and certainly say that yes, man, how awesome that would be for me anyway.
Yeah.
Because I know you guys probably seen it, even with the first fishes, and I had somebody message me on Facebook as soon as I posted the release video of this one, is I caught a lot of crap, man, about people saying about that big fish laying on the table, oh, it's dead, and this, that, and the other.
Hey, man, I defended you, buddy, and I got into it with a bunch of guys over it.
But I would just love to be able to say, yep, that is 100% it. I'm about 95% sure it is, but I can't without, obviously DNA test, stuff like that. Because I know that I have caught several blues. This has a few different things. It's kind of hard to distinct, to say it's not the same fish, but I know I've caught a lot of blues that look identical. I caught 2 today, but I swear to God, it was the same fish, but it couldn't, because as I was releasing him, a rod went down, but when I brought him in, I'm like, really? That was quick, but, like I said, it's hard to say. I would like to think in my mind it is. But
some fish just look different. You can tell they're just different than all the rest that you caught that day. But, if you catch 10 big fish throughout the day, 5 of them look, if they're similar in weight and size, they look the same. But there are some that have really weird patterns on them that is like shaded different. And then, I've caught some that are like really different colors. Mm-hmm. And it's not because they've been up shallow, but then also, I've caught a big fish that my buddy caught the year before that was missing an eyeball. and we could tell just by the marks that he had on it that was the fish that he caught. So catch and release works.
That's the one thing I can say, and that's what, like, you know, again, like I said, if I'm about 95% sure it's the same fish, and if it was, then man, I tell you what, that just makes me proud as a fisherman, you know, to know for 100% certainty, you know, that fish was perfect, and you know, but anyway,
that's awesome.
Yeah, but
and
this
y'all
fish
took great care of the fish.
Yeah,
and I got a
video crew.
All right, let's get in here. Get in here and I'll hold him. Get down. Big enough? Oh, good God, boy! All right, now I'm going to grab it tail.
Don't drop it.
Ooh, watch it, Tom. I know.
Yeah, don't.
If you could just ease him into the water here,
Don't hurt yourself.
Hang on, let me get the video going. Oh, dang, I left my phone. Ow, 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 ow.
Yeah.
All right, Micah. Ow. He's healthy. He's
ready to go.
Oh. Come on, buddy. Get him, boy. He liking that water.
Come on, buddy.
Ready? He gone.
No, surely not.
I think that spring water did it.
Live release, new Tennessee State record, 122.3.
That's awesome, man. That's much respect for taking care of the fish, and I know you said you thought about not even taking it to get weighed, but I think it's awesome that you take care of them and you make sure they get back in the water. To me, that's much.
I do the best I can. Yeah, I do the best I can. But yeah, it was the same thing. Because it was kind of pointing like it wasn't going to happen because all the officers, all the fishery officers, the biologists, stuff like that. Well, they were in not Nashville. Anyway, well, they were somewhere. They had to take all their vehicles, right? So they were getting all new computers put in their vehicles. I'm like, now, and in a leadership aspect, why would you have every one of your officers in one spot? You know, but it ended up working out. We ended up getting there was a couple of guys that worked the region out here, and they had gotten done early, and we got the phone call, and it was like, heck yeah, we're going to go help this guy out. So what looked like it was not going to happen ended up happening. Because there was a whole lot of suggestions. Well, let's get a big tank and put him in it. So, man, I ain't going to do all that. I said, it is what it is. I'll just let him go, but like I said, I'm glad it all worked out. And
I myself, I can sit here and watch that video all day long, man. That's just like, man, I'm ready to go fishing.
Yeah.
Creole said that fish said, that fish was thinking, oh crap, not this guy again.
Because we make a joke, when he's swimming off like that. Me and my wife and my dad stuff, we make a joke. He's just kind of like, because the first time he really kind of pulled away. Again, if it's the same fish, I'm positive. I'm pretty sure it is. But anyway, so this time he's kind of like, all right, well, I guess I'll see you next year. Then just swims off, Of course, I don't know where he's going to end up this time because I didn't get to put him back, upriver. I ended up having to put him in downriver. So he may have, kept on going south, or I guess technically on my part of the river north, ended up in Kentucky. But
so from where you caught it to where you released it, how far approximately were you? I mean, from his little stopping hole.
It's about 8-9 miles roughly from the boat ramp. Because the only reason why we didn't want to release him up there at the steam plant was it's because the it's hot and the discharge coming out of the steam plant is hotter. And so we didn't want to shock the fish because we had actually found where we got the fish certified at. There was a guy that either works there or knows somebody. I can't remember how that all worked out, but they have a natural spring in their backyard. Well, a creek. And so, of course, the drive from the boat ramp to there, I lost some water. So luckily they went and filled up a 55-gallon trash can of water, brought it back, and then we were able to top off the live well with some good water. I tell you what, that fish, boy, he loved that water.
Yeah, he did. He was ready.
Yeah, so we didn't want to shock him. Yeah, we didn't want to shock him putting him in hot water. So
Roger wants to know, what would you say is the key to success when it comes to consistently targeting monster catfish?
Well, I guess it goes back to what I said earlier, and that's just time on the water. Basically, finding that high percentage area, because if you find that high percentage area where it holds bait and multiple fish, and when I say multiple fish, they don't have to be 80 pounders. They can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 pounders. It doesn't matter. But just a high percentage spot that holds the bait. And every waterway is different. Every river's different. Every lake's different. You just got to find that high percentage area, because I could go miles on a river and then only find one spot that I would consider a high percentage area, and then just soak it. That's the thing. It's just soak it. Because I see a lot of people, and even guys that I fish with or even fish with me, they're just kind of like, well, there's no fish here. We need to move on. Man, there's fish here. It's just, you got to think of time of day too. 3 weeks ago, you could catch these fish all day. Now they're kind of transitioned to where it's going to be a morning bite or a late evening bite or into the evening bite. Because midday, terrible right now. So where, like I said, a couple weeks ago, I'd catch them all day long. I could drag the same spot, drag 2 or 3 different spots, and I could get bit, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But I guess the biggest thing I can say is just keep yourself in high percentage areas.
Well, I guess I'm going to ask the question that everybody's kind of wondering. When did you know that you had a monster catfish? I mean, when that thing hit, when did you know you had something big on there?
Well, okay, so keep in mind, I had a 72 and a 69 earlier that day, so I was it wasn't I guess I didn't know at that point. I knew it was a really good fish. Of course, if you watch the video, I only said it 100 times. But once I finally got him up to the side of the boat is when I knew that, my God, this is, because I could just tell by looking at him, he was a huge fish. He was 100-plus fish. I know I kept saying he was bigger than my state record, which I wasn't 100% sure, but, I knew he was over 100 pounds. Fault me for that,
Because I could only imagine, man, when you pulled that thing up, your eyes just lit up. I could only imagine what was going through your mind at that time.
Oh, man, it was something else, because the only thing I could think of was I'm sitting out here by myself. I just remember how hard it was with me and my wife, the first time. And then I'm out here by myself. I'm going the first thing I could think of was I know hundreds of people that fish and got boats. Everybody was working or didn't answer, because I needed some help, man. Because the video that I posted doesn't really show all of it, but I had that fish up to the net, 6, 7 times, and each time he would roll the wrong way, or I would get, too far in front of the belly, or something, so where I'd always have to pull the net back, and it was terrible. But of course it all worked out. But
I can only imagine different types of tricks too, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, when you got him up the side of the boat, what was he doing?
Well, when I first brought him up there, he was just chilling. He just kind of laid on his side, is look at me now. What are you going to do? Type thing, And when I stood, because I know
hey, old friend, remember me?
But in the video, I just kind of I stared at him. I was like, "There's no way. There's no possible way that I just did this. That I've caught this fish. There's no way. Because it's not like the spot that I was fishing is a big secret. You figure all the people that fish through there, and there's been a lot, and it's even more now. But there's been a lot. And then the thing is that I'm the one that goes out and catches it. That was, you got to take in all that shock and everything, and just try to somehow calm down and focus. But it took me about a solid 10 seconds to. Okay, now then I obviously jumped into panic mode. But
yeah, I was going to ask you. I bet your hands was trembling. I bet your heart rate was way out.
Yeah, like I said, if you pay attention to the video, if you really look close, you'll see the end of that rod tip. Because I'm just shaking so bad. I was shaking so bad.
After you catch the 69 and the 72, you're pretty much smoked from the adrenaline.
I was done.
Dumps.
Yeah, I was done.
Yeah.
But
a lot of times you catch those 2 fish, you can't hardly fish after that. You're just
Yeah, I was done. I was not prepared for, another 45-minute fight. I was not. And, of course, what was funny, when it was all said and done, we got everything done, and I come home, the next 2 days, I did nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. My forearms were sore. My biceps were, just sore. Back was on fire, so it was just one of them. I don't know. It's just one of them days we all dream about. And, I'm just glad I was able to have it. But it's definitely something that everybody dreams about. And I'm not just talking about this catching, the state record fish. I'm talking about the ones prior to that. Because
how close do you actually keep your net to your rods now? So since you're fishing by yourself all the time,
well, I still keep it in the same place. But what I've done though, because I would always forget to because I always collapse it. Then on the front deck of my boat, I always strap it down and stuff. So I always forget to do that. Unbuckle it and extend it and get it ready. It still stays in the same place, but now it's ready. All I gotta do is reach back and grab it.
So you fish by yourself quite a bit. I see in your videos and stuff. You're fishing by yourself. So, you do get it. It's not easy catching big fish by yourself. But you get used to doing it. So you've had a lot of practice, but it's different when you get one like that on the line.
Oh, it's definitely different. But yeah, because I fish by myself a lot because my work schedule is just weird, and because I go all over the country. And so I'm home for, sometimes I'm only home for a day or 2 days, or, if I'm lucky, it's a week, or, of course, right now, I think I'm home for actually a couple months. So that's going to be all right. But, so I wake up the next morning, I go fishing. So I don't really think too far ahead about catching a big fish. But yeah, man, out there by yourself, it's, now I always keep, I got a couple good numbers now. So if it ever happens again, I know I said it last time. I don't think it ever will again, but, you really can't say that.
I know Becca said, how's your life changed now that you're in the record books? And I told Jamie a couple of days ago, I'm like, I'm glad I got Micka booked before he got this damn second record, because he's probably answered 500 phone calls since then.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm booked with interviews all the way to October.
Oh man.
I am. I do roughly 2 a week. I think this week is a light week, because I did a radio interview last Friday, and then I had nothing today except you guys. So, but next week I got 2, and then the week after I think I got 2 or 3. But it's just people all over the country, and I don't mind doing it. It's a lot of fun, and I'm glad that people like yourself and, others that have the platform, you can have these guys, come on, tell their stories, stuff like that. I think it's pretty cool.
Your buddy Brandon says you're cut off from fishing them a couple of months. Roger says, what is your favorite bait choice for bait for big fish? I'm thinking he says bait choice. He's thinking of eating while he's on the boat.
Well, I have a rotation of baits that I roll through during the year. So here's how, and I'm gonna tell you, this is kind of my secret. So how I determine what bait I'm using is that we're in the summer months, so the water temp, like right now today was like 83, 84, going up to 85. It's going to be in the 90s before the end of it. Yeah. But once it hits the 90s and it starts dropping back down to the 80s, then I'm going strictly skipjack. And I don't know why, but the last 4 or 5 years, that's kind of been, as that water starts to cool back down, the fish transition away from, say, white bass or bluegill for me. And they start, and I could catch way more fish on skipjack. Of course, by that time, I can actually catch skipjack pretty much all over the river. And then, of course, it rolls into winter, which I use nothing but skipjack. And once it begins to spring, when they start spawning and whatnot, you kind of got a mixture of skipjack, but it's white bass from there all the way till the next time the water drops. So I used to use a lot of bluegill quite a bit, and I still do when I, flathead fishing and stuff. But I catch way more fish, way more consistently bigger fish. I'm not going to say monsters, but bigger fish on white bass. Whether now that's also that's a 2-part answer as well. So early in the spring, it's filleted white bass. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I don't know why they won't, because they won't touch a chunk. But if I fillet it, and it may be because of that presentation in the water. But if I fillet it, then they'll eat it. But then they'll stop from that, and they'll start going to chunks. And that's kind of my bait rotation, so to speak. But yeah, it's this time of year. It's white bass all the way till that water temp starts dropping.
Well, I've noticed that natural presentation will catch more fish. Now you say you chunk, but I mean I've chunked, I've filleted, I use whole baits. For me, when I'm dragging, I'm trying to present my bait kind of like it's injured and dying. Mm-hmm. I think that's why that fillet. I mean, I'll put everything. I'll put the buffet out and do different cuts of everything.
Yeah.
But some days, and more days than not, that damn fillet will catch 4 or 5 times as many fish.
Yeah.
As all other chunks.
Yeah.
Cuts, whole fish. It's just that fillet dancing around is irresistible.
I've seen that, and I like I said earlier in the year, I think a lot of that has to do with is they are slightly more finicky. I would think they're just coming out of the winter, so they're not, they're not really moving or warmed up to where they're not as aggressive. But they will eat something that, hey, it looks like a fish. Let me eat it.
Now summertime, I chunk it up and go.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do.
Now,
so
from summertime to wintertime, how much do you change your appearance up as far as your rigs and stuff? I mean, do you do a lot of changing as far as your setup on your rods and your rig choices?
No, right. I run a 30-inch leader, and that is it. Now, the only thing I may change is of course, I use a slit bobber. Mm-hmm. I got away from the rattles and stuff like that, but now I may change where that's at towards the hook. Sometimes it's 3 inches, sometimes it's 8 inches. It just all depends. It depends mainly on for me, it's mainly the current. But other than that, it's the exact same, unless I'm anchor fishing, which of course that's going to be different. But
it sounds like to me like you just keep it fairly simple. The simpler, the better for you.
Yeah, because like I was telling you about the rattles and stuff. I think I made it way more complicated than I needed to. And I know a lot of people, they catch a lot of fish with all the the different stuff hanging off their leader line and stuff like that. And hey, more power to you. If you can make that work for you, awesome. Now I've caught fish with the rattles and all the stuff on it. I've just found that I've caught more fish just a simple bobber, just that, and I could, I kind of got some little bit of history in my head about that. But it's, like I said, it is what it is. A lot of that stuff, it does work. I know there's times when, that big spook or whatever will actually get you more bites than anything else. Mm-hmm. It's just, again, if you keep yourself in high percentage areas, I don't really think it matters, to be honest with you. But that's
I think if you put the bait on the fish, it's the bait that's catching the fish. It's the presentation that's catching the fish. But I do think that a rattle can get a fish that might think, I'm going to let that one pass by.
Yeah.
It might just entice him a little bit to catch one. Because, I mean, I've caught enough fish. I brought enough big fish to the boat that didn't even have the hook in their mouth. They just grabbed the damn rattle.
Really?
They wanted to rattle over the bait. So
dang.
I know that they like that damn rattle because they'll knock that thing around. But I also fish around white bass a lot, and I believe a lot of that is a reaction to predatorial fish hitting bait, and they're like, oh, this thing's injured. I'm going to get it before one of these white bass can get it. So
right.
But that's all theory, That's just
it's honestly, at the end of the day, and you guys know as much as I do, it's whatever you're confident in. If you're confident,
that's 100% it.
Because if you're not confident about any part of what you're doing, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
So you have to be
confident. Is key.
Yeah.
So what hooks do you use?
The 9-aught, what are they? The cat snatcher hooks from Mad Catz, the circle hooks. I love them. I love them.
Nice.
I was a Gamakatsu guy for a long time, but I just never could find them in a 9/0. The biggest I could find was 8/0.
Yeah.
Well, these are more or less the same style. They're a little bit thicker, which I like, but so that's what I use.
So when you were using the 8/0, were you finding that you were not able to get some of those hooks around that tooth patch? Were you losing some fish because of the 8/0? Because I'll be honest, I lost a lot of fish because of 8/0s.
I mean, I've lost fish. I've lost fish using the 9/0s, and oddly enough, I've lost more fish using 10/0s. Which, somebody explain that one to me. But
I think sometimes it might be the weight of the hook.
Could be.
That drags the whole rig down, where it makes it where the hook point is not oriented properly for the hook set. So I think a really big heavy hook is just not in the right position for when a blue cat comes up from behind that thing and hammers it.
Yeah.
But again, that's just my theory.
Now you could, I mean, that's probably not too far from the truth, but yeah, with the 8/0s, I lost fish. I mean, like I said, I still lose fish with the 8/0s too. But
losing fish is part of it.
Yeah.
But when you do it all the time, you should pretty much know which hook is working better for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're catching them frequently and consistently, obviously you like the 9 better than the 8. It's not just, I think it might. That's your first initial feel is, I think this might work, but obviously you stuck with it, so you probably trust that it's giving you a little edge. Am I right?
Yeah, that's what I feel anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because let's be real, every little thing that we're doing to tweak our game, we're looking for an edge.
Yeah.
And I mean, so.
Well, I've got to know myself, how long did it take you to go right back to that same spot? After you done broke the record for the second time, was it the next day? Was it a week later? How long did it take you to just want to go back and fish that spot again?
It was I think it was a week later. Yeah, I think it was. I took Brian Ladd out because I want to try to get him on a decent fish, and I knew I'd caught some decent fish out of there. But God, the problem was though is prior to us getting there was like 4 boats already went across it. And then
I found though, sometimes that doesn't matter. A lot of times it's the angler. Because a lot of guys come fish next to me and they're like, I got 3. What'd you get? And they're like, I got teeners. And I tell them what I got. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
So, I mean, because you're in an area with big fish, I don't always, go off what somebody else says.
What was even funny is when we started dragging that little spot, somebody was right beside us. I mean, our outside planer boards was probably within feet of each other. Which I don't care. I mean, it's public waters. Y'all want to? I mean, as long as you're not like over top of me, we're good. Yeah. I mean, one of us is bound to catch something. Yeah. And
don't drag right in front. Don't cross in front of me. That's gonna piss me off.
Yeah, but no, it's like I said, that spot's been hit pretty hard. I went the day before to catch bait, and I watched like 4 or 5 other boats, go across it, anchor up, drag it, you name it. So, but we ended up stopping short of that one because there's some more holes prior to that one that honestly, that was the first time I ever fished it, and we did pretty good out of there. We pulled some good fish out of there.
Where were you today? Because I saw some pictures. I mean, you really caught some nice fish.
I was actually north. I was almost into Kentucky, matter of fact, because the thing that's been working the last couple of times has been deep holes, which it's hot water. That's where them blues want to go, and I know of one for sure that does not show up on a map, and I fished that one first, and then the second one, everybody and their brother knows about that one, but the first one I did pretty good at, and then the second one. I went down through there and I caught a lot of dinks out of that one, which, they're still fun, but I thought for sure that, I was going to pull a good one out of there because that was just above my good flathead spot that I was telling you about earlier that it's no longer there. So, because I'll tell you how that set up. It was a big tree ball, but it was a big hole that comes up, and right up at the top of that hole is where that big root, tree ball was. And that's why it was such a good spot, but it's not no more.
You got to love that, man.
When you're looking for these big fish spots for blues, I'm a lake guy, so rivers is, it's like Chinese to me. But what are you looking for your big spots? Yeah, I know you said you graft a lot. Are you grafting bottom structure, or are you actually looking for the fish and then fishing the fish?
Well, okay, so there's a lot of indicators that tell you that fish are there, which, like I said, you guys you're no idiots to it, so you know what you're looking for. But I look for active fish, and it doesn't necessarily have to be catfish. It could be, skipjack. It could be the white bass. It could be, even stripers. Some of the, if you see a bunch of those, you better fish underneath them.
That's for damn sure. 40-pound plus fish love to hang around stripers.
Yeah, and then, but then it's just a bait. Like right now, the last 2 years on this river, we have had an amazing hatch. I mean, I was catching, I guess they're thread fins. Yeah, I think they are thread fins, but they're like 3/4 of an inch long, and there's just clouds of them. I mean, they're so thick you can't even see past them with your graph, and it's like, okay, well, I want to fish underneath those, and so it's kind of how it is. And of course, it's water depth too, just knowing where they want to be at a certain time of year. So all them combined, you're typically going to find, like I said again, a high percentage spot.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I just saw a question that says, tell a Kentucky boy what to do. So.
Fish hard, fish often.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, just get out there, because man, I'm gonna tell you, I get and I hate that I can't take everybody. I wish I could. I probably get a day probably 10 to 15 requests. To hey, you got an extra seat in your boat, and I would love to take everybody. I really would, because I think that I would help. I don't know if I would make them do any better in a sense. Like I'm not the man for it, but I can dang sure point you in the right direction. And I just hate that I can't do that for everybody. But anyway, so I sit down and I answer questions all day. So I guess I can do that.
I imagine you got a whole long line of people waiting to get on the boat.
Yeah. And like I said, I hate it that I can't take everybody, but I try to work in as many people as I can. So
I know next time I'm up in Tennessee, I might be giving you a call.
That'd be all right.
But man, I mean, tell us how long you been with Mad Catz. Tell us the history behind that.
Oh, well, okay. So we'll go back to when I was fishing the power rods from Bass Pro. If you remember those, you could buy 5 of them for $20.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I graduated from that. Well, because I used to always fish the Berkeley E-Cats, right? Okay, so they made them for a lot of years. You used to be able to buy them at Walmart. They were good rods. Well, then they quit making them. Well, then they come back out with them, so I bought a bunch of them. So I was fishing those. But I got the heavy actions, and it was just something about them. They caught fish. I caught some good fish on them. And then I was like, well, whatever. Then I ended up getting hooked up with Brian Ladd, and I can't remember how that all worked out. I think we were talking about fishing or something, and through a friend of mine. And well, he's like, hey man, you need to try out these Mad Catz. Oh, yeah, all right. Of course, first he tried to pawn off some other rods on me, which I ended up getting. I hated them. So he's like,
these Mad Catz are awesome. Take these other ones that I don't want.
Yeah, right. So anyway, but he hooked me up my first couple Mad Catz rods, and I got to looking at them, and of course, and went on the website, and I was talking to my wife. I was like, God, you see all these colors they got? She's like, yeah. I said, man, I think we need to get like one of every one of them. She's like, okay, really? Cool. All right. So I went ahead and I started, buying them and stuff. And then that's what I exclusively fished with was the Mad Catz rods. And I'd put some big fish, I'd hook into some big fish with them. And I could tell right off the bat that they were for me. Now, I understand they're not for everybody, because a lot of people, if you fish a lot, you know what I mean? There's certain things in a rod you want, which I love the carbon rods. I really do. But I love that S-Glass blank. I just love it. I
do too.
I don't think I can get away from it, just for the simple fact of if you have a big fish it really makes up for a lot of your mistakes. Like I'll find myself thumbing the reel more than I should. I find myself with the drag a little tighter. I find myself jerking the rod. Well, there's enough cushion in that medium heavy action to make up for my mistakes, and so that helps me out a lot.
Well,
I think one of the best things about that rod is the way it sits in a rod holder. I've been on enough really high level guys' boats that I'll be honest, every other rod I've used is doing this the whole day. Every time there's a wave, every time the boat rocks. But the Mad Catz is the only rod I've ever used that is locked and does not move at all in the rod holder.
That foam handle
sits perfect.
Yeah,
even
that foam
in big
handle,
waves where you're rocking and rolling, that thing is locked. Guys are like, "Damn, these rods are locked." It's like they're bolted down or something.
But yeah, them foam handles, they'll actually form right there where they contact, and that's what I think that's the biggest thing. And
there's a little groove that they cut in the handle too that fits perfectly where your rod holder is on that, right next to that butt pad. That's where I stick mine, and it just man, they ride so good right there. I'm like that, I just love it. I think that's probably one of the best things about the Mad Catz is just how locked that they stay in a rod holder.
You were talking about each rod has a different feel. And, myself and Rebecca, we come, we fish a lot of river, basically river. That's what we were raised, doing. And, when you're hooking into a fish, each rod, like you said, has that different feel. To me, the Mad Catz rods just feel so comfortable. I mean, it's just got great feedback. I mean, everything about it. And I'm not saying that, because, right here. But, it's something that I pay a lot of attention to. I've used a lot of different rods. But when you have that rod in your hand, I mean, it's just so comfortable. And that when you hook into a fish, here you 2 state records, I mean, you trust that rod.
Yeah, and see,
and they look damn good doing it.
But there's a reason why we fish them, right? It's not because it's not because we got a deal, from day one. You know what I'm saying, or anything like that. It's because we tried them out and we liked them and we continue to go with them. And
you can't get I mean, that's how you get on the team. It's not, hey, here's the rods and use them.
Yes, exactly.
You get on the team by using them, and then they invite you. Because of the fish that you're catching with them. But I got some pictures of your signature rod, and man, these things are beautiful. We'll go into a little bit about how the whole process, but man, you nailed it on these. I said that's the Laker rod. Somebody said no, that's the Black Mamba. But man, they look so good, and man, you killed it on that design. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about the process of getting your own signature rod and, what goes into building that thing and getting it how y'all wanted it?
Okay. So, well, when it all first started, of course, me and you, we talked about this prior to the show going live, is I originally wanted to do like a military type rod, which a lot of my friends thought that I would do. And man, we tried, we really tried. It was just, they were having trouble with getting the right paint, that, like I said, it wouldn't crack or wouldn't fade, so fast or stuff like that. And if they did make it right, it wasn't even close to the color we were wanting. So we kept going back and forth with that. And then Matt had an idea about putting a wrap on it, and I was like, well, no, because you're taking a fantastic rod and you're putting a sticker on it. No, I don't want to do that either. And then so it was kind of back and forth. And I sat down and I thought about it, and I said, well, whatever it is, it has to be purple. There has to be a purple in it somewhere. And so he was like, okay, awesome. So how about we do like a yellow blank with purple on it? I was like, all right. So I went back. I said, well, that would kind of look cool, And he, of course, sent me samples of the handle that we put on it. And then, of course, I knew what the real seat was going to be. So I'm like, that is awesome. I said, that'll be pretty good. And then, so we got it done, and I got to looking at it, and me and him both kind of sat back. It's like, well, it's kind of like the other yellow rods that he's got already. I said, is there, we were kind of back and forth on that too. Is if there anything we could do different? And then he went back and then he sent me more pictures, and this thing was bright. Like in the sunlight, this thing it's bright. So I guess he had him put in a little extra, I guess what they call it, luminescent paint or something. It's a white paint, but it goes behind the yellow. So that's where you get when you hit it with the black light, that's what you get your glow from. And I'm like, yep, that's it. It's right there. And then I'll tell you a funny story about if you notice the black underneath the guides, right? Mm-hmm. So that was originally yellow. And so I'm like, man, I said, but there's no other black on there except for the butt, I'm saying. I said, how about we put black under the guides? And then so Matt messaged me back. He said, well, the manufacturer thinks that's going to take away from the purple. I'm like, I said, man, I don't care. Let's put it underneath there and see what happens. And I think for me that was the best thing for looks. It looks awesome. And once we got it back, me and him both were like, yep, so glad we went with that.
I think when you put that black outline on it, it makes it pop.
Yeah.
I was about to say,
I do a lot of graphic stuff for Carolina Lake Weights and just my stuff that I do. And sometimes when you just add that little black outline, it just completely changes it. So I think you nailed it on that thing, man. That's probably one of the coolest rods of the whole lineup. So,
yeah. No, I don't know. That fins it was pretty sharp.
Yeah, that fins is good.
That was two colors. I mean, a lot of people calling it different things, but them two colors together, that was actually a pretty good looking rod too.
Yeah,
I like the Goblin. So
yeah,
green's my color, and that was the layout that I had told Matt I thought would be his #1 seller. So that's my signature rod without my name on it.
Oh, the Goblin.
Yeah.
I got 2 of those.
Every time we go up to Mad Catz, I mean, they're just a couple hours up the road.
Yeah.
We always bring back so many different rods. I love all the colors, and I've been trying to break myself. Okay, I need 3 primary colors, and that's it. And I end up getting a different color every time I go. So it hasn't worked yet on just staying with 2 or 3 colors.
Right.
They make it very hard to just stay along those lines.
These carbines look pretty good too, though. I mean,
yeah.
That's a beautiful rod. I mean, the Patriot carbine, damn, it's like I could talk myself into getting another set of rods.
Yeah, I got one of them in the mail. I think it's supposed to be here tomorrow. I have one to add to collection.
Yeah, I got about 30 rods. If I'm gonna get more, I got to start giving more away.
I see Parker Pursuit saying there's a lot of comments on TikTok about how bright, that rod is that you've got with the purple and the black, how bright that rod is.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, he was just saying, there's a lot of comments, on TikTok about that series rod.
Oh, okay.
So
I see on Mad Catz Unlimited that a lot of guys, when they line them all up, that Micka rod glows brightest of all.
Yeah.
And even when there's no light on it, that thing's bright, like there's a light on the damn thing.
Yeah, that was one of the things, because, it's kind of hard to, break the mold on what he's already made. All of his rods are, they're awesome. They really are, but we just had to do something a little bit different, something to draw the people to want to buy it, outside of, supporting me, but just, wanting a rod that, like I said, that was just slightly different than the rest of them. And I think we did it. I think we did a pretty good job on that.
I think myself, that's a damn good looking rod. It really is.
Well, I appreciate that.
And props to you and Matt on that.
Yeah, because it took a while. It should have been a lot sooner, but like I said, we didn't want to just rush it and then throw something out there. Then
then you're not happy with it. And you're like, I wish I'd have changed this, and maybe But hell, if you messed it up, you'd have had a second chance at it.
Yeah, that's true.
Now we're just all waiting on that third one.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we're still going after that flathead record, and I don't know if it's on my end of the river. I actually think it's going to be caught up there where Brian and Brandon Ladd fish quite a bit on that end, which what I consider it's considered the old river. I call it, because it's narrower, shallower, not a lot of rock. Where my end, it's deeper, it's wider, and a lot of riprap banks and stuff like that. So
For a lot of the people that don't know, what is your flathead record right there?
the biggest one I've ever caught was 76 pounds. That's the biggest one I ever caught, and I caught him 15 years ago.
Man,
Dang.
if you could only find that one now.
Man, I tell you, I can only imagine.
Have you found that catching big flatheads has gotten more difficult with so many people? I don't know about where you're at. Where I'm at, guys keep them and eat them. It's a crime, but it is what it is. You got a lot of limb liners here, and
we got that too. But I don't know of any. I mean, I know there's people that catch fish and keep them, but I would have heard if it was like big, flathead. I would have heard about it. So I don't know about people keeping big flatheads. I know they keep flatheads. They keep, bigger blue, stuff like that.
I wish we could get that changed here, because Texas used to be one of the best states for big flatheads. And there was one caught about 3 weeks ago, 98 pounds, but it was caught by hand. Some guy pulled it off the nest and took it to the dock and weighed it and destroyed the nest for the year. But that was another argument that I got into with some guys. I'm not afraid to stand up for big fish, though. That's the one thing you'll find about me is I'll take a licking from some.
Yeah,
people.
It's more so for me, man. It's it's not even so much the next generation. It's for that's in mind, but it's for even the next guy. I think because the feelings that I've had, catching these fish and stuff, man, I think everybody should feel that. At least once.
I agree. And big fish are just too valuable to only catch one time.
Yeah.
It's a crime, I think, when somebody takes it home and makes Tuesday night tacos out of it.
Yeah.
You were talking earlier about wondering if it's the same fish or not. I've actually in the past have taken a little zip tie and actually, put a little area on the fin just to see if I could ever catch that fish again.
Yeah. Well, like I said, time will tell. I kind of have an idea where it may have went. But I won't know, like I said, unless I just get lucky again and go out there and catch it, but like I said, time will tell on that.
That's it. I was just, but your
so the last one, did you catch it post spawn too, or? Yeah,
it was post spawn. Yeah.
Your setup on your boat, man. I mean, for big fish, it looks like you've got the perfect setup. For everybody, it's like ourselves. When you fish tournaments and stuff like that, it's important to have that oxygen system just for situations like yours. What kind of setup do you have on your boat just to make sure that fish did get back and it was released alive? I mean,
okay, so because in my live well, of course, we got the pump in, pump out, all that stuff. But I've also got it. I've also got it to where I can run both continuous. It's where I pump or I pull from the bottom out and I pump in from the top down, and then I put in. I spent some money on it, but I can't remember what it's called. It's a something, but anyway, it's a big bubbler, which it takes outside air or whatever. But I put a big 10-inch diffuser in the bottom of that thing, and I'm gonna tell you what, if anybody's listening, watching, whatever, if you've got like a little bubbler that you bought at Walmart, you will benefit greatly by getting a diffuser, because a diffuser is something different. It puts out smaller bubbles, and it's not so much the oxygen it puts in the water, but it's how much bubbles pop on top is what draws the oxygen in. I learned that. I didn't know that always, but I just learned that. Anyway, so yeah, that was a big help, man, because the water was warm. The fish was exhausted. We both were, but more so he was exhausted. And just to be able to, keep him calm, keep him, like I said, the oxygen in the water. What was cool about the thing, like I said, I installed in my boat is I can actually take the cover off and I can hook an oxygen bottle to it. I didn't have one, but you can. But like I said, that diffuser was great.
Well, I tell you what, man, like you were talking, how far is it from the water to where you had to go to actually, get the fish weighed and stuff?
It was 14 miles, 14, 15 miles. Yeah. And it's windy roads. That was one thing I don't care what Livewell you got. I mean, you start going around curves and stuff like that, you're going to lose some water at the lid. So, once we got there, it was like, I opened it up, it's like, crap. Some water, So we ended up getting, like I said, some water because they were actually going to drive back down to the river and get some and bring it back. And I was like, well, by the time that happens, that'll be 30, 40 minutes, Yeah. So, but luckily, like I said, there was one guy had a spring in his backyard. So that was super helpful because as soon as we filled that thing back up, man, that fish was like, yes, where's this been all my life,
and summertime water, like you said, was hot. You're tired. The fish was tired. And just knowing you spent that extra time on your Livewell system to make sure just for, times like what you did now. And, I give you props on that. I hope a lot of fishermen out there takes that extra time and upgrades, any Livewell just for, keeping the big fish alive, so they can be released. I mean, I give you a lot of props on that.
Yeah, but see, that's key. Like I fish tournaments. I don't fish many, but the ones that I do fish, man, you never want to come to a scale with a dead fish. I mean, that's the worst thing in the world. You know what I mean? Because it's supposed to be fun. You bring fish in. And I know people. They'll keep the 10 and unders and stuff, but I
think if you kill a fish, you ought to be banned because I've been fishing for 30 years.
Yeah,
we lost one fish in the whole time. One fish, and it was because the angler was taking a picture and dropped the fish. Now, that was 20 years ago. We know how to hold them better, and you got to hug them and show them love. Squeeze them so they don't fall. But I've had to stay with fish for way over an hour before that did not want to go down, and the guys were like, "He ain't gonna make it." I'm like, "He's alive now. Why not? I mean, we're just gonna stay with him until he goes back down." Now, whether he dies 2 weeks from now, I don't know, but I know that every fish that I catch, I stay with them, make sure they go down.
Yeah,
and that's really all you can do, other than try to take care of them while they're on the boat.
That 72 that I caught, he was just like that. I got it. It's one of my other videos, but I just, I've caught fish. Hey, all right, you're done. Get your pictures. Weigh him. All right, put him back in the water. Well, I did that. And, he could not go down. And so that's why I had to, I just backed the boat up immediately and I got him back in the net. And the video, it didn't show it on the video, but I was with that fish for about 30 minutes. Just making sure that he was.
How deep water did it come out of?
Yeah, he cut 60 foot. Yeah,
okay,
but I mean,
you got to burp. You burped the fish and all that, right?
Yeah. When I got him on, he didn't feel that. He didn't feel that bad, and he blew a bunch of bubbles on the way up, and so that's why I thought, well, I could just let him go, and but no, he wasn't good enough, so I had to go, like I said, catch him, bring him back in the boat. I burped him a little bit more what I could, and then I just held him over the side of the boat for, like I said, it had been about 30 minutes, but the whole time I could see the more bubbles coming out of his gills, and so I'm like, okay, then finally he just like, okay, I'm good, all right, cool, and he swam back down to the bottom. So that was, but it's things like that because even me, many fish I've caught, I still make mistakes, not paying attention. That's, I guess, out of that video, that was one of the biggest things I wanted to say was, man, just pay attention to your fish because they will tell you a lot, if you just pay attention to them.
That's it. Where do you go from here, man? 2-time state record holder. I mean, where do you go from here, brother?
Talk shows.
Well, that's the short-term goal, I guess, is get through all them. But man, I'm not sure. Like I said, I just want to, keep fishing, obviously. But now that I've got kind of a platform now, a little bit bigger of a platform, not a big one, but a little one. And I just want to do what I can for others, man. And that's what I've always wanted to do. I guess now maybe there'll be a few more people that'll listen to me. I guess, but
no, I will.
You get a little extra credibility, and you get a little respect. You get a lot of respect, I think. But you had the respect, I think, before the big fish, before the records. So
yeah, that's just my biggest thing. Is I've always just wanted
a feel good thing, really.
Yeah, I just wanted to help others get out there, and be as successful. That's it. And if I could do that one small way, one big way, then that's it for me. I've always tried to do that.
Well, I tell you, man. I mean, I'm definitely gonna be watching all your videos because I want to learn. Being a river guy, I'm definitely, we're definitely we're gonna be watching.
Yeah, well, the one that I shot today, I'll edit it and have it up, sometime later this week, maybe this weekend or something. I go into a lot more detail, and that's something that, because I always get these people tell me, hey, you shouldn't give away all your secrets. And, okay, I mean, I don't give every secret away, but, I give a large majority that if somebody watches one of my videos and if they apply half of it, they're going to have a decent day somewhere.
Yeah,
I got a feeling you're very similar to basically every one of my high-level fishing buddies. If one of your buddies asks you for information or help or anything, I have a feeling that you will tell 100% open book.
Absolutely.
They want.
I'll even take them out to the spot.
Hey, that's it. That's how I am.
It's public waters. You know what I mean? If
you could just go out and target the record, then you would be able to go back out there and just go catch it again real quick. It's just not how fishing works.
No.
Now you caught that same fish, but you said you believe it was the same fish and it was within 100 yards. Now that to me is believable. I've caught the same fish before because one reason I know is because I caught one with my rig in his mouth that I broke off 2 weeks before. And I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And I know that was my rig. And so, you see a lot of fish and you're like, this is the same damn fish. I've caught it 3 times today.
Yeah.
But, sometimes you get one you've caught before. And, I've even got a buddy that we caught the same fish because it was missing the eye and it had a ripped lip. And, there could have been another fish with that missing eye that was 52 pounds, but this one was 52. It had a missing eye and had a ripped open lip. So
yeah.
We just said that's the same fish. Mine weighed 4 or 5 more pounds than his the year before. So
like I said, it's like you were saying, it's definitely not far fetched by no means. Because I know I've caught the same fish before. Different fish and flatheads. You can really tell if you catch the same flathead.
Yeah, actually, one night during the tournament, we actually lost a nice flathead, and I believe it was about almost 2.5 hours later. Jeremy, the tournament Catz, ended up catching that fish and beating us in that tournament by catching that same fish. So it actually had our rig still in the mouth. Also.
Oh man,
that's
a
freaking
true
awesome.
Story. Jeremy still hasn't returned me that rig yet, but still.
I know that it happens quite often because I got guide buddies that are in the tagging program, and they tag hundreds and hundreds of fish a year, and these fish get caught by anglers that will call in the number on the tag, and it was my buddy's fish, and it was the next year it was 3, 4, 5 pounds heavier the next year. Sometimes it was 8, 12 miles from where he caught it, completely different end of the lake. So I think it's cool that they, that guys are out there doing that so that we can kind of get an idea of their movements and how much they're growing between one year and the next. So I know somebody earlier said, did you tag that fish? And I don't believe you tagged it. But
No.
Yeah. Somebody asked my buddy Jeff, did you tag that fish? I said, yeah, he tagged it with the hook in his eye.
I did tag it that way.
Yeah,
sure. But man, you were talking about giving out information earlier. I enjoy that part of it more than I do anything. Just trying to help your, fellow, fishermen, with information and just trying to give back just a little bit to maybe make their day or their night better when they go fishing. I enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. And if they get out and they're successful, that's just that's the best thing for me. Because you can give a lot of people a lot of information, but if they don't apply it, then you're just kind of like, well, okay. But what I like to do is, say again.
Congratulations on your record.
Thank you, buddy.
Records are cool, aren't they, Jack? Quit kicking that. Your foot's on it, buddy.
But yeah, man, that's always a lot of fun. Just giving back, just hoping that information that you do give them, just helps them out. It makes them, even give back to others also.
Yeah. That's it. Like I said, just spread the love is all we can do.
Let's start this. Yeah.
So Jeff, I've got a bunch of tags, buddy. I'm actually in the tagging program. I've just not actually ever spent the time to tag them, but I'd be happy to start tagging them with you on the lake. And I know, our lake, if both of us start tagging, other guys will be catching some of our fish, and I think it'll be cool. So I'm game. We don't have to zip time. I got a bunch of tags. I'm in the Texas Trophy Catfish Association, so I am in their tagging program. So let's do it, man.
Try.
Yeah, Jackson, turn that on.
But have you talked with Matt anymore? I mean, what's he think about this second one that you broke? I mean,
he's pretty excited. For obvious reasons, for me and the hopes that we'll get that second rod out and bring more attention to him and his company. But yeah, it's just we're kind of just like we've been here before, so it's just business as usual, And he's like, well, what do you want to do this time? I told him. He said, okay, we'll get some samples made, and we should have some in a couple of weeks. Okay.
It's kind of one of them unheard situations, man. I mean, 2-time. I mean, who would ever think?
Yeah, I guess there was another guy that had done it, right? Out of was it South Carolina or North Carolina? No, Virginia, wasn't it? Something like that. I wish I could remember his name. I feel bad that I can't remember his name. I'm sure somebody here remembers his name. But yeah, it's kind of a neat deal, Like again, I just wish everybody could feel that feeling.
Yeah, I know myself, man. I would just love to even get close. We dream about it every time we go fishing. Like, this is gonna be the night. This is, it just drives you and keeps you going. So, hopefully there is a lot more people that's going to be able to feel that. I can only imagine that feeling that.
Yeah, because all the years I've fished, I dream about it, like you were saying, stuff like that. But I never thought in a million years that I would ever catch a fish. A catfish, because I have caught some fish out of the ocean that were over 100 pounds, but never a catfish over 100 pounds. Never. And
that's the dream, man.
Yeah, and in the last couple of years, I've actually come, really close to, more triple digits. Like I've caught some 80s and stuff like that, and it's like, what have I been doing wrong? Because until that, if I caught a 40 pounder, Jesus, you'd have thought I had 10 state records. But like I said,
fishing, there's just different levels to it, man. The longer you do it, you don't really realize what the next one is until you get to it, and you're like, okay, I realize now I was not there. But then you think you're there, and you realize in another couple of years there's a whole nother level to this thing. And there's a reason why there's not a bunch of really young guys that are just killing it in the catfishing game. Now there are some, but usually their dads, I think, were guides. They grew up with a dad that taught them the graph and the catfishing, all the ins and outs of it, and they just take it to the next level. But catfishing is not something that you just learn quickly.
No, it's not, because there's a lot of little things that if you do right, you'll be good at it. If you do it wrong, then you're going to have a tough time. You're going to be, sitting back just like, well, how come I can't do that? And see, well, I want to make a point too, is that when I started fishing, it didn't matter what I was doing. I actually dabbled in bass fishing quite a bit too, back in the day. And I always thought, because I would see these guys, they got these big boats, they got these big names, they got all this stuff. And I would always sit back and just think, why not me? What's holding me back? Because the only thing that was holding me back was me, And so that just kind of and I know it does for other people, but it kind of drove me to be better at this sport, you know. And then once I got that thought in my head, I'm like, well, there's no reason why I can't do that. Well, I can do that, surely. I just got to do this, that, or the other. Then, you know, if it works out, then great, you know. But I never got discouraged on a bad day fishing. I just use it as a tool for the next day.
You know, catfishing.
Fishing can be painful.
Yeah.
Fishing can be painful. You know, I think if it's just a real light hobby for some guys, then they just deal with the painful part. But if you really want to be good at it, it's those bad trips that drive you to want to iron out those wrinkles.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, the longer you do it, the less bad trips you have. Now, occasionally you'll still have one, but the longer you do it, even on a bad day, you can figure out how to do fairly good most of the time. Now, not all the time, but
yeah.
But yeah, it's just a lifelong deal, and I think if you're not learning, then you're pretty much going backwards.
You know, catfishing as a sport right now, going back to what you were just saying a while ago, is myself, I believe, even higher than a lot of the bass fishing right now. You know, you know, it's grown so much. It's like it's just taking on a totally different level. And you're talking about, you know, why not me? You know, a lot of young guys is seeing this, you know, hey, I can actually do this. And catfishing, you know, it's just growing so fast.
Yeah, it's like I was saying on another interview I did last week. You know, that's a great deal, but it's also a double-edged sword because I would love to see everybody. You know, I mean, whoever wants to get out on the water, catch catfish, but at the same time, you know, like you guys were talking about, catching your own fish or whatever that had rigs and stuff in them, and and I'm not saying anything about what y'all are using. I'm just saying I know a lot of people that use Zebco's and 10-pound test line they bought from Walmart, and they hang it to a 20-pound catfish. You know, then it's got 40 foot of line hanging off of him and a little crappie hook. It's just one of them deals that education on that aspect is definitely key. You know, have the appropriate equipment. I'm not saying the best equipment, but just appropriate equipment.
Yeah.
And then
we all start from somewhere, you know, and as I think as you have those little failures and successes, it changes what you think or what you realize that you need to do to catch the fish that you want to catch.
Because
myself, I've learned during a tournament, you know, on the river system where you got a lot of gar, you know, take that extra second, check your leader, because actually that's where a lot of people messes up. And I get in a rush, and that's actually what happened during that night. You know, we hooked into a nice gar, and I got in a hurry, and bam, and there it was. You know, just that little fine detail.
Actually, I ain't gonna lie, I've done it too. I've lost fish because of that too. Just being in a hurry, like you were saying, and because recently, like I said, since I've been dragging baits for the last couple of years, I got a really good stretch of river. I mean, it's awesome. But the problem is that they line that whole thing with a bunch of riprap, right? So when they pile that riprap, of course, it all goes down. So, but the fish, certain times of the year, they're there. I don't know what they're going after. Maybe it's crawdads, maybe it's the bluegill that's in them. I don't know. But if you're not touching them rocks, you ain't catching no fish. And now, but because of that, you know where you got your weights at, you know, your line is there, your main line, so it's taking off the rocks the whole entire time. You know, when I fish that stretch, I know it seems like a lot of work to some people, but I will change knots. I will I'll check everything about every, honestly, 50 feet to 60, 70 feet. But I know there's fish there, you know, and it's just a matter of, if I catch that one fish, how many nicks do I got at my knot? You know, how many nicks do I got on my main line? Nicks, you know.
Roger says if you want to catch big fish, you first must be prepared to catch big fish. And I think when we're all starting out, we all want to catch these big fish, but we don't realize that everything really, not all the time, but to be successful at it, everything has to be pretty much perfect on your rig, your line, and all that, because you can catch a 20-pounder and you even catch a 30-pounder with a damaged rig, but you start getting up over 50, 60, 70, 80, you will lose that fish almost every time if the rig is not perfect, if the knot's not tied right, if there's, you know, if you got a nick in the leader, any of that stuff, if your line is not fresh, you know, if you've been running the same line for 4 months, 5 months, it's fine for all those fish until you get that one that's your biggest fish ever, and then you lose that one. And it's probably safe to say we've all probably lost in the beginning our biggest fish we ever caught because we didn't realize what we needed to do to be
I'll agree with that 100%. I will agree with that.
I know it's got me now, you know, during the week when I'm not fishing, I'm constantly checking every rod, you know, checking my line. I mean, sometimes I might change, you know, line out on the same reel every other week. I mean, constantly changing it out.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that. I was gonna offer that question to both of y'all. How often y'all change your line on your rigs?
I've got 2 line machines, and I'm basically every other week or so. I'm, you know, depending on how much fishing I do and how I, you know, drag, I'm constantly, you know, changing line out quite.
The amount of line that I change out is dependent on my season, because I'm in Texas. Our big fish season is not now. I'm really not too worried about the line now. I'm not going to let it get totally hazed out, but I will keep my line super fresh starting October, and even a little bit before that. I will have fresh line all winter. I'm going to check my rig every time I catch a fish. I'm checking my leaders. I'm running my hand 6, 8 feet, probably 6 feet up the line. And just checking for abrasions, for nicks, and I don't lose fish from breaking off lines. Now, occasionally you'll get a leader that maybe the hook nicks it and you'll lose a fish, but I don't even break off on the leaders because I do due diligence. I've lost enough big fish because I screwed around and waited too long to change everything out. So.
No, the reason why I was asking that.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, I say the reason why I was asking that because I just got an order of line in today. My wife was asking me why I buy so much line. I said, well, because I change my line out on all my rods about every 4 to 6 trips. I don't care, because if I get hung up on it one time, like if it's really hung, you gotta like really stretch that line. That's not good.
You're worried about it overstretching it or messing it up a little bit. I get that.
Especially fishing like you were talking about, you know, we fish a lot of the log jams and different structures like you do, and you know, you might have some thick stuff over here that you're constantly fishing. I mean, it don't take much, man, and that line is just frayed. I mean,
yeah. Because
my buddy Jeff says, "Don't chase a bear with a 22." I love that.
That's a very true statement. Very true statement. But yeah, because I've had even this monofilament, I use quite a bit. I've actually seen cracks in it. Like if you look at if you hit it with the right light, you'll see cracks in that line throughout that line. Like if it was hung up, and I don't know if it's just outer coating maybe or something like that, but I don't care. It makes me nervous, so I'm changing.
Yeah. I mean, I've got big old balls of lines. So, yeah. Rebecca's always like, "Why are you buying?" Well, we got a lot of lines. So.
Yeah.
I can basically look at mine and tell from UV damage whether it's old, but then I determine whether it's got abrasion or nicks just by running my finger up.
Yeah.
Now, if it's up into my 12 feet up, I'm probably not seeing it, but I don't break off 12 feet up. It's usually around the hook. That fish grabs your rig and then he's rolling around on the bottom trying to break you off, and that's where your abrasions are. And I think the nicks come from when you're sending it and your hook helicopters into your stuff. And but you river guys, y'all are in structure and stuff, so I do check it a little differently if I'm fishing around rocks and all that. But
yeah,
I don't lose fish from breaking off. I've ended that problem.
Yeah, I haven't in a long time, so we'll see.
I always tell people, when you go to pick a catfish up, just look at your fingers. I mean, you got blood coming out, all scratched up. Just think of that way. What is it doing to your line? So just that extra.
Yeah. That tooth patch is like really 50 grit sandpaper.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, if you caught 6 big fish on one rig, which sometimes you get all your good ones on one rig, that thing's freaking destroyed. It's time to cut that thing off and pull one out of pre-tie out and tie that sucker on. So Jimmy, he asked what kind of line and what test do you use?
I use that Mad Cat Structure Mono 40-pound test.
That's the same thing I'm using myself right now. Yeah,
I use 30-pound, and I like it because it will tow my 23-foot bay boat, so I know it's going to catch fish.
Yeah.
Just that extra 10 pounds, in my mind, when I'm fishing that heavy structure, I'm dropping it down into the log jams. It just makes me feel just a little. I mean, the 30 I've used and done just as good, but just knowing, hey, that extra 10 pounds,
So when you hang up and you're dragging that 40, it's hard to break.
Yeah, it is.
That 30's hard to break.
Yeah,
I can't hardly break the 30.
The boat's pretty well moving like this.
I take it. I gotta wear gloves, and I pull on it till it breaks. But in the end, though, I will take that. I'll do a little extra work, just to ensure that, again, I'm confident in what I'm using. So.
That's it, man. You got to have all the confidence in the world.
Oh yeah,
That's your gear that you're using for sure. Let's see here.
Yeah, confidence is key. That's probably the angler's number one compadre. Is when you're heading out, is to be confident in what you're doing, confident in your equipment, confident that your boat's not going to fail you. Start questioning all that, the trip generally doesn't go well. So
that's a fact.
Are you heading to the conference in Tennessee? I saw where somebody asked earlier. Are you going to be going to Pigeon Forge Gatlinburg for the conference coming up next month?
Yeah, I'm gonna be there for that.
Yeah. We'll definitely see you there. I know we're going to have a booth there, so we'll definitely.
Okay. I'll come over and hang out with y'all.
We appreciate you, buddy. Definitely, because like I said, we're looking to have a good time. We're hearing there's going to be a lot of people, and we can't wait to get up there.
Yeah, that's what I've been told too. That it's going to be a pretty good deal this time.
Yep.
They got a bounce house, Jamie. Did you find that out yet?
I haven't heard about the bounce house yet. I know I
can't make plans unless I know there's a freaking bounce house. Because God Almighty.
Now, Chris, you're a little bit grown up now. You don't need a bounce house.
I'm still hearing stories about my son over at the Mad Catz booth.
Oh, at the conference.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, he was. He was around. I'll just say that.
I let him go. I just people are like, man, you just let him run wild like that. I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, he's not getting into too much trouble, and
No.
He was having fun with the other boys, and he's a wild kid, but he's a good kid.
Catching some big fish.
Yeah, he catches a bunch of good fish. So. We're excited to get back on that fall bite here, man. Our summer bite, guys, like, well, how come y'all don't catch them in the summer? I'm like, Texas is just different. That's all. I mean, all I can say is Texas is different.
Well, that and it's too damn hot.
That's right. I mean, guys, like, well, fish at night. I'm like, well, really, if you go at night, it's still 98 degrees at midnight. I mean, it doesn't cool off till 4 or 5 in the morning. So. Really, that would be the bite window, 4 or 5 a.m. And hell, I'm 49 years old. I ain't going at 4 or 5 a.m. That's just not happening.
Right.
That's for you younger guys. I'm too old for that crap. So I'll wait. You know, our time will come in the fall, and then we'll start hammering fish again. And this time of year, we just kind of fun fish for eaters and get the occasional good fish if we're lucky. And I take my boy tubing and crap like that. So
well, nothing wrong with that either.
Poor boy Catfishing said that we've got to get you a crown.
Yeah, you know, when I did the thumbnail, I'm like, after I already posted, I'm like, because I put 2 crowns up there around King of Tennessee. I'm like, damn, I should have put one of those crowns on his head.
we might have to get one made up and bring to you next month.
That'd be all right. That'd be all right.
But man, I tell you, it's good. I'm so happy when we knew you were going to be on tonight. You know, I knew that we were going to have a lot of fun and you know, learn a lot of things. And from myself, man, thank you, brother. You know, for all the information. I mean, it's been unbelievable.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, I'm not going to hold nothing back. You know what I'm saying? Like we talked about earlier. I mean, I'd love to see the next guy have the same success that I have. Because that's what it's all about for me. You know, I know there's a lot of people out there that, you know, they're tournament fishermen. You know, they're diehard tournament fishermen, and they, you know, they're going to hold everything to themselves, and you know, and that's fine. That's their right. You know, but for me, man, I love seeing the next guy, you know, do just as good. You know, because we can all do that, man. It'll be a lot of fun.
That's it.
I agree, and I think it's cool what you're doing. I think it's, you know, getting the records probably couldn't happen to a better guy. I think you fit in perfect with basically all my catfishing buddies are exactly the same. We enjoy helping other guys. We enjoy helping basically the youth get going, the next generation, seeing them catch fish. I think it's awesome when you help a guy who's not great at catfishing, and then all of a sudden he starts doing pretty well for himself, and I think that's a cool feather in the cap. So I think it's cool what you're doing, man, and you're welcome back on our show anytime.
Okay.
I'm proud to be teammates with you. I bragged on you a bunch with my buddies. I'm like, yep, Mad Cat's taking over the world.
Yeah.
And bro, like I said, man, you know, let's go for that number 3, man. Let's take that bar even higher.
I got that in my head every time I go out. Because if you don't, then you know you're cutting yourself
short.
So
we're mid-July. We'll go ahead and book you for next, because it seems like about this time of year you break the record. So let's go ahead and book you for next time this year. We'll do another show on your third record.
Okay. If anything else, I can just give you an update.
There you go. There you go.
There you go.
You know, one year later, where's he at? You know, that type of thing.
Yeah, that'll work. Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate everybody spending the time with us tonight. I know there's some other shows that are going on that a lot of people like to go watch. So thanks for spending some time with us. Micah, we appreciate you. Jamie, you know I love you, brother. Anything else y'all want to mention before we go?
Yeah, just give us where can people see your videos at, my friend?
Oh yeah. Well, it's basically if you just search up my name on YouTube, it'll take you right to it. Just type in Micka Burkhart, and that's it. That's the name of my YouTube channel.
Well, I see 1 million views first thing in the morning. So,
I know your buddies, the Ladd brothers, have been in here tonight. I think it'd be cool to get both of them on the show. So, put you guys on the spot. We want to get you the world famous Ladd brothers in here sometime. Talk about. I know y'all fish pretty much very similar water, same kind of stretches of water, are very close. So
they, like I said, they fish the what I consider the old river. So that's a whole different animal up there. It really is compared to where I fish at it. And like I said, Brandon and Brian, they're pretty knowledgeable about fishing that type of stuff. You know,
they're about as consistent of big fish anglers, especially for flatheads, that I've ever seen. I don't know anybody that catches flatheads consistently like those two guys. So hopefully we can get them on. You know, they're other Mad Cat teammates with us. I'm proud to be teammates with you over at Mad Catz. Jamie, I'm, diehard Carolina Lake Weights, but this right here is Mad Catz family.
Yeah.
So we'll do it again sometime.
All righty. I appreciate y'all having me.
Hey, thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. Congratulations on that number 2.
All righty. Thank you.
All right, guys, for Jamie Dunn, for the King of Tennessee, El Gato Azul, we're out.